bang.
You sure?
Yeah.
On the hell, you sure?
Yes, I don't bang.
What's that B stand for your face?
What it stand for?
Huh?
What's that B stand for?
To his stomach, watch his dumb ass fold up. I ain't gotta talk about shit, them niggas know what's up. That nigga put the Jeep by the Cape, but ain't smoke none. Every time I ride the 108, I'm trying to smoke some.
Y'all not doing shit over here. Y'all ain't doing Nathan, no hustlers. Y'all don't leave watch for Nathan. What is y'all doing? No East Side Crip, like the fakes.
I'm with everything, I never stand down. Spin again, ain't satisfied until we get a man down. Feeling it, let a chopper sound. Ooh, it's been a while. Lately, I've been fucking with them 38s and Glock 9s. But tonight, I'm putting niggas in a pine box. I ain't King Von, nigga, we ain't finna box.
Rap News, Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube. And we back on the East Side in Watts with them baby low Crips out the Jordan Down Projects and East Side Front Street Watts. Now, we know the feds is outside, they yanking people left and right. It's looking bad, but none of that is stopping Watts from getting cracking with the activities. Now, neither one of these hoods needs an introduction. We know what the baby lows do. East Side, Grape Street, Peter Road, inside the projects, outside the projects, a large reputation in the whole city. Now, Front Street Watts is gonna connect with Grape Street down Century, but for everybody not knowing where Front Street stands, we seen them rocking heavy with 9-7 East Coast Crip, pushing 9-7-10-8. Now, we don't really hear a lot between Front Street and Grape Street, but they do go through ups and downs over here on the east side. Now, one thing we have to clarify about Front Street, especially to our out-of-town members that I see getting them confused with Front Hood. Front Street, borderline of Watts, completely different set. Front Hood is in Compton, not too far, but again, these two hoods couldn't be any more different, but they have been known to share an alliance with the F. Now, we know Grape Street, everybody usually talk about their main enemies, PJ Watts, Bounty Hunters, and East Coast. Now, we've seen some members from Front Street kicking it in the Jordan Downs. And I think since BL lost his life, a top member, everybody knows it, from Grape Street, it's been a strain on Front Street and Grape Street relationship. Now, like I said, in these past few years, they've become extremely close with East Coast. And with East Coast being responsible for what happened to BL from Grape, we see Grape and Front Street kind of pushing lines on each other. Now, shit seemingly bubbled up over here on Century and Alameda again. Both of these hoods share Century. Century's gonna go through the middle of Grape Street Hood and through the most dangerous part right now for sure. Between Century and 99th, Juniper, Lou Dillon, where the new buildings meet these old buildings, this is where it's really going down at with Grape Street as of late. We know they're going through a remodel. A lot of moving pieces is happening over here in their section, but that's not stopping them from getting cracking. But last year, it went up where a Front Street member named Snipe was over here on Century and Alameda, April 11th of 2024.
Police tell us a teen identified by his family as 14-year-old Alexander Aldana was behind the wheel of this Cadillac SUV trying to get away from a gun battle when he was hit in the neck, later crashing into a tree.
Now, over here in this section, right outside the projects is Freedom Plaza. The phone store over there, the Nike store, Ross, all kind of shit is in this section. But again, pretty much in the middle of Grape Street Hood, a no-go zone for enemigos of the Grapes. And Snipe, 14-year-old, well-respected member, seemingly, from Front Street. We see him in all their music videos. Again, 14, this was some real young life coming out of Front Street. But it said he was driving the Escalade over here, pulled up. I don't know what exactly he was doing over here in the Grapes. Again, I've seen Front Street members function in the Grapes within the last 4 or 5 years they've been over here. So this is seemingly an up and down situation, but it said that he ended up getting into a shootout over here. And while he was trying to get on, whipping the Escalade, ended up catching a shot to the neck and losing his life over here right behind the projects in the Freedom Plaza. Now, after this situation, like I said, 9-7-10-8, we've seen both of them hoods, East Coast and Front Street, celebrating the life of this young man over here that lost his life. They went up for him, and rightfully so. But what we saw after that, the Grapes came through here kicking the candles over. You know, they may be for show over there by Century and Avalon, where the 9-7s and the Front Streets exist, is gonna be with East Coast, Q102 and 9-7. But they seem to be taking a stance with Front Street getting so close to East Coast that it's just up. They kicked over the candles, and then we see these dudes riding over here to Century and Avalon with the dissing.
Easy, nigga. Got my hood. BL. Nigga, fuck the dead, nigga. That's how we coming, nigga. K-Lo, nigga.
Go wherever I want. Toast his head up. All on the wall. Grab the chopper in. Come and make these niggas fall.
Now again, all of this stems back from the situation with BL from Grape. Like I said, top, well-respected member. Every time you hear somebody from Grape talk, you hear BL's name. Before that situation, Coast, Grape, all these dudes was cool. And he ended up losing his life at a Coast party off Florence. And the situation hasn't been fixed and is weighed heavily on both of these EC hoods over here on Century and Avalon and with the 8-9s. And one thing we gotta realize with Century and Avalon, this could be the only intersection in the city with 4 active hoods that all get along with each other. 97 East Coast, Front Street Watts, Q102 East Coast, and 98 Main Street all occupy Avalon and Century. And we know all of them hoods rock with the neighborhood car. And Front Street, at some point in the future, I would not be surprised if they slap the NH or the ECC on it, because that's how close they be coming with 97. But this is how it's played out with the Grapes. And I've heard some members have turned East Coast, others have turned Broadway from over here. But something we seen down Century was a big name from 9-0 that turned 97 East Coast. Meech Gotti. Again, this dude got 90 Crip tatted on his face. And now we see him throwing up East Coast, throwing up the 9-7. And it said that they calling him 7 Boy over here from 9-7. So 9-7 is having a lot of influence as of lately.
Ain't no meat. You gotta keep getting cut. Dead home.
You gonna disrespect Coach O, bitch ass nigga? Ain't no meats, nigga. Dead home.
Now, Front Street, they whole hood is going from Century to 108 between Avalon and Central. Now, again, 10-8 and 10-3 is going to be their main blocks over here. And exactly a year later from this situation with Snipe, April of this year, 2025, some tragic events transpired. So April 13th of this year, on 108th and McKinley, a main block of Front Street Watts, a group of people were said to be congregating over here on 108th, and some shit cracked off and the fight broke out. Now the key thing over here on 108, this is the front line, the border between Front Street Watts and Eastside Back Street Watts, who are historically main enemies of each other. We're gonna speak on that situation, but it's said to have cracked off over here on 108. Now, allegations went out there about a female that was involved in this situation had hopped on the phone and called an enemigo of Front Street over here. Now, I don't know what hood that was. I'm not gonna make any insinuations, but when that individual got over here to 108th, it said that he started letting off shots, clearly missing his target, and 2 bullets going to a house where 13-year-old Haley Savage was laying on the couch, and this 13-year-old little girl ended up getting hit by those gunshots and losing her life over here on 108th. An innocent victim, as we see so many times, especially in South Central, Watts, Compton, all of that. This is nothing new, but it's a sad event that played out in the Front Streets over here 2 months ago. Now, the day before that, it went up across Avalon in the Q102s on 102nd and San Pedro. Another female, 31-year-old Portia Evans, was said to have lost her life from gun violence in the middle of this Q102 hood. And in the same weekend, a day after the 13-year-old was killed over here, another man got hit in the Front Streets on 103rd. Just last week, another man was shot around the same spot Haley Savage lost her life on 108th and McKinley. So like I said, this area right here is getting active. And like I said, with all these hoods right here getting along with each other, this is a prime area for their enemies. Now, Grape and Front Street, they do share some of the same enemies as well. We know Grape is usually affiliated with Gangsta Crips and other sets that are not neighborhood Crip sets, of course, and sets that don't get along with Bounty Hunter and PJ Watts. And like I said, Front Street, damn near neighborhood Crip at this point.
I'm on the front line, they still don't cross. Remember that gun line? 2 Glocks, 64 shots coming at one time. And I ain't never ran if I ain't running from one time. Lil Squeak from 103, ask me, I run mine.
I be charged up, big 40 all out of traffic. I'm trying to park some. Little niggas capping by sliding, they came and spark nothing. Bitch can't kick it for free, I gotta charge some.
But beef that Front Street has, we see them pushing HK. Now the HK is standing for 3 different things over here. They beef with Eastside 107 Hustler Crip off 107th in town. So the H is for the hustlers. I believe they also beef it with 88 Hard Time, who's just up Avalon from them. Now the H also stands for Hacienda Village and the Hacienda Village Boys, who is just down 107, right behind Circle City from them. But the common enemies that they share with Grape Street is also gonna be Hacienda Village, Bounty Hunters, and the Village Boys.
To his stomach, watch his dumb ass fold up. I ain't gotta talk about shit, them niggas know what's up. That nigga put the Jeep by the Cape, but ain't smoke none. Every time I ride the 108, I'm trying to smoke some. This dumb ass nigga whipped out, you better know what's up. You better ask about Boozilla, yeah, I done stuff. We can shoot it out, little nigga, or we can knuckle up. I don't fuck with booty hole niggas, they get no love.
Now, something else we see in Watts is the unity between black and brown. Like I said, with the feds outside right now, this is for sure what's needed in the city. I know a lot of people have different takes on that, but Watts is a place that we spoke on that has somewhat of surprising unity between the black and the brown hoods in this section. We know a lot of hoods out here have Hispanic counterparts. With Grape, it's Watts Video Grape. With 10 Line, it's DS Line Watts. With Southside Watts, they occupy the same area as 97 East Coast. And Hacienda Village with the Hacienda Village Boys. But we're gonna speak about a situation with them. But for the most part, these black and brown alliances share the same enemies. So we see the same kind of beef being had between Watts Video Grape and Southside Watts, who again shares their hood with 97, and we know Front Street be over here too. And just to add even more context to the activity of this section, as we recording this video this week on the border of 97, Front Street, Southside Watts, and 99 Mafia hood, these niggas done shot the mailman over here. All this shit going on, they done shot the mailman. And on the news scene, you see Southside Watts blasted right behind it. Now again, I'm not making no insinuations about who got up on the mailman, but regardless of whatever's going on in the city, it's still going up in Watts. Now these areas down Century, going towards the Front Streets and the 97s are the hot spots. We know the Grape Streets and the projects stay active and hot as hell as well. Like I said, on 99th Century, 97th, 103rd, 102nd, 105th, 112th, it's no shortage of bullshit that's happening over here in they hood. But the last time I was in the projects was when another murder happened around the same spot where Snipe from Front Street got killed on 99th and Juniper, where 19-year-old non-affiliate Kemonte Johnson was killed over here in the projects. Now that situation was hot then, and it stays hot over here. And recently there was another murder over here on 97th and Juniper, just on the other side of the old buildings. But regardless of the bullshit, we still see dudes trying to make it out the projects. As always, a couple rappers I want to shout out from Grape, Real Watts Baby and Lil Boozilla. Both of them dudes coming out the projects with some shit. And for everybody that's not familiar with that situation with AOF Nino, Real Watts Baby is the one that got up on him when all that shit was going on between AOF Nino and EBK J-Bo. So of course, Nino, being a member of Bounty Hunter Watts, you know, he was starting to lay it on thick with that No Jumper interview. And you know, that caused some of his enemies to want to test his gangster. Got the low on him, pulled up on him, and Real Watts Baby said he ran and left his phone and just did some other shit. But this is the dude that did that. And he even called Christopher Lovejoy out for the fade. I think, you know, it was said that AOF Nino called Lovejoy to fix the shit. You know, I think he's his manager and shit. He called dude to fix it, and Lovejoy didn't want none of it. He said he didn't want the fade. He want to pull up and talk, do all that. You know what I'm saying? We know what's going on with Christopher. But that was a situation that transpired with Real Watts Baby coming out of the Baby Lokes. And rappers from Front Street, we got Lil Squeak, Free Him, Antelope, that whole YFL movement, that young frontliners movement, Crazo 6, the F Gang does have representation in this music shit too. So, you know, everything just ain't all bad in these hoods. Niggas is still trying to make it out. But somebody who put Front Street on the map is Pimp P. That's those dub people. That's a wild character right there, and somebody that definitely be lighting up the room, whether it's positive or negative shit he talking about. He definitely lighting up the room. And like I said, has kind of popularized Front Street to the masses, especially since Desto has came out. And he be rapping too.
It's regular. On the 10-5, I do the dash. Regular. I ain't slacking, I ain't lacking. I'm from the 10-4. 03, sign me. It's It's the pimp, slap a bitch in the week. It's the pimp, I ain't going to sleep. It's the pimp, slap a bitch in the week. It's the pimp.
But aside from this situation with Grape and Front Street, we talked in our last video about the Swans. Y'all make sure y'all go check that video out. Probably one of my favorite videos of the year. I'm gonna keep it real. But we spoke about Front Street also beefing with the Swans. And we spoke about 9-7 losing a homie over here in the Swans, Baby G Soul. And that also happened 2 months after Snipe was killed in the Grape streets. But we seen Fronts linking up with Kitchens, dissing the Swans. Now we know the Kitchens have put their differences aside with East Coast, but they beefing with A7 Gangsters. A7 Gangsters got a lot of beef on the table. We done talked about them multiple times. They just got a lot of shit going on over there on 87th and Wall. But we also know that A7 is moving coast to coast. We spoke about some of their members turning East Coast. And we've seen Front Street with the A7s dissing the Kitchens. Now, I don't know what all that's about. You know, I'm sure Front Street has been cool with A7 longer than they've been cool with the Kitchens because of their situation with the coast. But we also see Front Street saying that it's FSC, MSC. Front Street Watts, Main Street Crip. Again, they share their border with 9A Main Street. They tight with Main Street as well.
The Crips is outside, yeah. FSC to the MSCs, yeah. We outside, yeah. We got big guns. FSC, we got, yeah.
So like I said previous, it seems like A7 is the odd man out in a lot of different things. And just like Front Street, we also may see A7 put the NH on it. It just makes sense. But aside from Grape Street, which is somewhat of a silent war, we talked about Backstreet beefing with Front Street as well. Now, Backstreet and Front Street used to be the same hood. Stanford Avenue Crips. Again, I told you, Stanford is the main block over here, especially on 108. Now, it's said that they broke off from each other with differences, and of course, it turned into gunplay over a dice game, and both of them hoods have been known to be arch enemies. Now, I've heard accounts of them having a ceasefire right now. I don't know how true that is, but what I have seen is Backstreet really being on 11 Deuce neighborhood Crip ass. Now, east side 11 Deuce is a small hood on the other side of Avalon from both Front Street and Backstreet, and it's the only hood on the east side that's neighborhood, but not East Coast. Now, 11 Deuce definitely gets along with all them other neighborhoods up Avalon, but that seems to be Backstreet's main focus, aside from Front Street over here.
Are you the Backstreet? Oh, you be, hey, this where you stay? Fuck Bacon Strips, nigga!
And east of Front Street from Central, you have Circle City, the only Paru hood in Watts. Now, a lot of people ask us about Circle City, and their main enemy is gonna also be Front Street. But again, they a small hood in Watts, and it's not known to be that active over the years. Now, another thing we have to speak on is what hoods over here are actually in Watts. You know, we get a lot of talk about this map and boundaries and shit like that, but according to the city of LA, Front Street and Backstreet are technically not in Watts. Watts technically stops on Central and 103rd. Bebop Watts isn't even in Watts. And in their new district reporting, Ted Watkins technically isn't even in Watts. The borderline goes around Ted Watkins, up Success to 92nd. Morgantown is not in Watts. It's above 92nd. Nut Hood Watts and Nut Hood 13 is not in Watts. Neither is Watts Barrio Lacotes, being west to Central. So that's just some interesting facts, being that Front Street and Backstreet for show push Watts along with them other hoods, and they're technically not in Watts, they're in Green Meadows. But as we see, that's not stopping shit because the activity is second to none in this situation. In the past couple years, we've seen almost 20 murders, and that's not even all of them. Not fully counting this year, not fully counting last year, still 20 around this corner on Century and Avalon. We spoke about the mailman getting hit. Man, they killed the Taco Bell worker in the drive-thru over here. You know, the shit just be getting crazy in this section. It's nothing to play with. Astro's Liquor on Century and Avalon. The Smoke Shop, Century and Avalon, where the 9-7s be at. The Beauty Supply. A female was shot up in there in front of her kids in front of the Beauty Supply on Century and Avalon. This area, nothing to play with. And again, with that situation that happened with the 13-year-old girl, that's not the first time a situation like that happened in the Front Streets. This time it was documented that a Front Street member named Young Watts, who said to have been fresh out at the time, was trying to serve a sack to somebody in his hood at their crib. They didn't want the sack. He ended up punching on the female that he was trying to serve to and got on. He came back a month later, knocking on the door, looking for friction. When he knocked on the door, the female 7-year-old little sister was going to open the door. Her people had stopped her, opened the door for her, and he ends up whipping out and blasting through the house, almost hitting this little girl. So like I said, situations like this, nothing new on the east side or the west side of LA. And like I spoke on previously with Grape Street and Front Street sharing this beef with Hacienda Village, who's very close to both of these hoods. Very small project where the Hacienda Village Bloods and the Hacienda Village Boys, the Sureños, coexist in this area. Now the Village Boys occupy more territory than the Village Bloods. They do bleed past 107 to these Bounty Hunter Watts blocks, and they bleed into Circle City. But this is a situation where they kind of been having internal beef, opposed to beefing with Grape and Front Street, who they right in the middle of. Now, I believe they fell out in about 2017. Last time I was over here, I still seen them dissing, but recently we see them together whacking out the G and Front Street. But in 2017, it said that a dude named Lil Yank from Hacienda Village had got into it with some Village Boys over a hit up that they was doing around a shooting of a Village Blood member. Now it ended up boiling over, and it said that somebody from the Village Boys ended up putting the pause on Lil Yank, and he ends up bumping into some Village Boy members in January of 2017, Fresh, Bugsy, and Blackie. Now at this time, I don't think it was going up that bad between these hoods, because it said that Lil Bugsy had kind of greeted him like he knew him and was cool with him. But at this time, on 106th and Firth in the projects, Lil Yank ended up getting off 15 times, killing Fresh from Village Boys over here and sending the Village Boys and Hacienda Village Watts into a deadly dispute. Now, like I said, I don't know. That was back in 2017. If they've cleaned that up as of 2025, I seen them whacking out Front Street and Grape Street together this year. But about a year ago, I still seen them whacking each other out on Compton and 107, right outside the projects. But as we know, man, Grape Street still on the beef with East Coast and Front Street. We know the beef has died down between Grape and East Coast over the years, especially since the genesis of it with BL. But Grape has always been known to have his hands in a lot of beef with they enemigos in this section. Front Street, not a hood that a lot of people know about, talk about. That's why we wanted to speak on them and their reputation. And you know we gotta say rest in peace to everybody that's lost their lives in the streets, especially the innocent victims that's caught in the crossfire throughout the city, man. But both of these hoods is nothing to play with and watch, man. But nonetheless, y'all go check out the members. I think Real Watts Baby got a YouTube channel. Check his shit out. Support all the people and the rappers that we have in these videos that we be putting out there, because they have some shit. LA is back running the game, and these are the niggas that's close to the streets that influence what's being presented to the masses, man. But nonetheless, y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to what we got going on this channel, the best hood channel on YouTube. We're gonna keep supplying y'all with that heat. Y'all make sure y'all stay tapped in. We out.